Quiet people often control the room fastest. You walk into a meeting and one person does not rush to greet anyone, they sit, open a notebook, and wait. The observable behavior is entering without initiating social warmth. The effect is that others start calibrating to them because lack of seeking signals higher rank and lower need. In practice, this means they force the first mover role onto everyone else, and the first mover usually gives away status. You recognize it when people start explaining who is who, offering seats, or filling the air to make them comfortable. Need speaks louder than words. You propose a price in a negotiation, and the quiet person looks at the figure, then does nothing, no nod, no frown, no commentary. The observable behavior is neutral facial feedback after an offer. The effect is that your brain reads uncertainty as risk, and risk pushes you to justify or reduce the offer to regain safety. This shows up when you start talking again to defend your number, adding reasons, context, and concessions you did not plan. You recognize it when someone lets you finish your own argument for them while they stay still and attentive. You start bidding against yourself. You make a strong claim in a disagreement, and the quiet person repeats your last 5 words back to you, then stops. The observable behavior is exact echoing without interpretation. The effect is that it puts your words under a spotlight, and many statements sound weaker when forced to be heard twice. This is done by making you own the literal phrasing, which pressures you to soften, clarify, or retreat to a safer version. You recognize it when someone mirrors your line, and you immediately start modifying it before they even challenge it. Your wording becomes your trap. You ask for a favor, and the quiet person answers with a short yes or a short no, with no explanation. The observable behavior is low elaboration response. The effect is that it blocks negotiation around their boundary because explanations create openings and openings invite pressure. In practice, this means they avoid giving you material to argue with, so the decision lands as final instead of discussable. You recognize it when you feel frustrated and start searching for angles because you have nothing to grab onto except their decision. No reasons, no leverage. You are pitching an idea, and the quiet person waits until you finish completely, then asks one narrow question and stops again. The observable behavior is selective questioning after full listening. The effect is that it forces you to organize your thinking around their frame because one precise question defines what matters. This shows up when you abandon your prepared points and start answering in their structure, trying to prove competence on their chosen axis. You recognize it when someone asks about one risk, one number, or one timeline, and suddenly your whole pitch shrinks to that issue. They choose the battlefield. You are in a group conversation, and the quiet person speaks last, not first, and their first sentence is a summary of what everyone already said. The observable behavior is delayed entry with compression. The effect is that it signals oversight and control because summarizing implies you are tracking the room rather than competing inside it. This is done by arriving after the noise, then naming the pattern which makes others feel seen and slightly judged at the same time. You recognize it when people stop interrupting, look toward them, and wait for their interpretation before deciding where they stand. They become the reference point. You push someone with a provocative comment, and the quiet person responds with a calm pause, then a single factual correction, then silence again. The observable behavior is minimal rebuttal without emotion. The effect is that it makes your provocation look like a reach, because intensity without return reads as imbalance and neediness. In practice, this means they let you carry the emotional load alone, which lowers your status in front of others without them attacking you back. You recognize it when someone refuses the drama, corrects one detail, and leaves your bigger accusation hanging unsupported. You look like the unstable one. You try to dominate with speed, talking over gaps, finishing sentences, and keeping momentum, and the quiet person slows everything down by taking time before each reply. The observable behavior is deliberate response latency. The effect is that it breaks your tempo control, because fast talkers rely on rhythm to prevent scrutiny and force agreement through motion. This shows up when your points start sounding repetitive and you begin over-talking, because the silence turns your speed into visible pressure. You recognize it when someone answers slowly, and you feel compelled to fill the space with more arguments to keep dominance. Speed becomes a confession. You are testing someone's confidence, and the quiet person maintains steady eye contact while saying less than you expect, then stops cleanly. The observable behavior is sustained gaze with low speech volume. The effect is that it shifts effort onto you because humans tend to match intensity, and eye contact without words demands you contribute more to equalize the interaction. This is done by holding presence without giving reassurance, which makes you work to regain balance and approval. You recognize it when you start smiling, explaining, or offering extra information just to relieve the weight of being observed. You start performing for them. You end a tense conversation, and the quiet person closes with a short line, then walks away without softening. No wrap up, no comfort, no final agreement. The observable behavior is withholding closure. The effect is that it keeps the interaction unresolved in your head, and unresolved loops pull attention, regret, and second guessing for hours. In practice, this means they keep psychological ownership after the conversation ends, because you keep replaying it, trying to regain control. You recognize it when someone leaves you wanting a final word, a last clarification, or a clean outcome, and you catch yourself planning a follow-up. Control continues after silence.